Craig, you were EIR at Benchmark.
Yep.
And COO of Ancestry.com. That went public $700 million?
Yeah.
$700 million IPO last year. And so and now you're the CEO of Gaia. You've had a successful run at building online communities. Give us some lessons you've learned about building an online community.
Sure. Well, I should step back to the time when I was at Benchmark, because when I got to Benchmark, my goal was to find something that could be great. I didn't want to start my own business. I don't think I was that creative, but I was trying to find a team that had something good that I could come in and help put the pedal on and make bigger. And I remember thinking, after looking at about 200 companies, I found Gaia. And there were two things I was looking for when I found Gaia. One was awesome value proposition. So I mean something TiVo-like that's new, different in a way that truly changes people's lives or some aspect of their behavior. Something so good that if you build it, people will come. You don't have to actively go out and market. And the second thing is I wanted to find a group of entrepreneurs who had what I'd call an uncanny grasp of the end customer, because they were the end customer. They were building the product for themselves, first and foremost, and it just happened to resonate with millions of other human beings. And I'm convinced if you get those two things right, you have the chance to build something great with a capital G that you get to tell your grandkids about.
So those entrepreneurs who started Gaia were in their teens?
They were in their 20s. They were in their 20s, but they're totally young at heart. But what I mean is to distinguish them from somebody that came out of a business school or out of a consulting background, and what they tried to do is analyze the market and then based on that build a product. But instead they were building something that they knew deep viscerally in their gut was something they wanted, and therefore other people could like.
Tell us about one of the toughest things I think for many communities is to create engagement.
Yeah.
What are some of the lessons you learned from maybe you took some lessons from Ancestry.com, or maybe it's different. Ancestry.com, the engagement there is different from Gaia, but just what are some of the big takeaways that you think about a lot?
It's connected with value proposition again, like coming up with something that truly offers awesome value to the end customer. Mm-hmm. But it's one more element, which is you have to be listening to that customer so that you can build what it is they really want. And that listening part, everybody says that sounds cliche, but there's a difference between people who do it really well and those who don't. So I use a concrete example. At Ancestry, when I got there, the company was losing $5 million a month and was in half a dozen different businesses, the primary one being free family websites. And we quickly refocused the business on the family history business. By asking the customers, figuring out what they actually liked. It was the family history part, the others they didn't. But the key thing was, in the first 6 months I got there, I talked to, no exaggeration, over 400 or 500 users by emailing them directly, by giving them my cell phone number, and asking them. This would be people who joined the service and in the first week quit, and another group that joined the service and spent and stayed forever. So what was the difference between them? And after another of these, after probably 50 or 100 of these conversations, I finally realized that the key to the whole service was finding one ancestor in your family history gave you a taste of success, a feeling of like connecting with why you're doing this. It teaches you who you are, where you came from. It has this emotional resonance. Once we figured that out, then we actually shifted the entire business in the first few minutes of the experience when you joined the service to us actively going out of our way to help you find and have success in that first couple minutes. And it had a huge difference to the trajectory of the business. So as soon as you joined, even if it meant we called you, it's a web business, but even if we called you in the first 30 seconds, having you entered your information, hit enter, and we call you, and right there on the phone with a trained genealogist found your first piece of information about your grandfather in the 1930 census, for example, that had a huge impact on our business.
That's a great story. So you had different revenue models for Ancestry.com, and when you first came in.
The company was called MyFamily.com. We switched it to Ancestry.com. Yeah. And
finding an ancestor was not really the main thing when you first got on the site.
No.
What was the process? How long did it take for you to transition to that focus?
Well, we were losing so much money that when your back's up against the wall, you can actually be really fast and efficient. So in the first 6 weeks we got there, we took the company from about 450 employees down to 200.
Wow.
And reshifted all of our emphasis to the ancestry business, took everybody off of the other elements of the business, down to a few people from hundreds. So we did it really quickly. But that's unusual. That's because if we hadn't done it, we wouldn't have been in business, we wouldn't have had a job.
There's lots of lessons. Maybe those are some of your lessons learned that you want to share with entrepreneurs. So give us give us one main big one.
One big lesson. Let's be careful not to take too much money. Money leads to choices, allows you to do too many things. And I think the key to Gaia success was that we stayed focused on our users, focused on our demographic, just stayed focused. And I'm convinced at Ancestry, same story. Take too much money, it's too easy to choose among many things instead of just making that one hard choice and staying focused.
Okay. One failure. If you can be explicit, that's the last question. Failure.
One failure.
Even at Gaia, what is that failure that you kind of look back and say?
Yeah, we built a game that took us 2.5 years to build. And looking back, we should have built that one specific part of the site. We should have done it in 2 or 3 months and gotten data from our users really quickly, and then pivoted then if it worked or it didn't. So investing 2-3 years into something, big mistake. You should be able to figure it out in a couple months.